Good morning, children. Let's continue this play on the face of it, written by the British writer Susan Hill. This play is quite interesting, and we have seen the first scene. And today we are going to study the second and third scene. Now let's continue with this play which focuses our attention on the physical pain and mental anguish of the persons suffering from some physical impairment. The playwright Susan Hill presents the two leading characters. On one hand, we have old man, and on the other hand, we have a small boy. And both of them have different sorts of physical disabilities. The old man has a thin leg. It did not hurt him when it came off. Then he got used to it. Feels pain now and then in wet weather. He finds it inconvenient to run, to climb a tree or ladder. He lives all alone in a big house with a garden. The boy has one side of his face badly burned by acid. He felt the physical pain then. After discharge from hospital, he feels hurt at the attitude of the people. They regard his face as horrible and ugly, show signs of being scared, and avoid his presence. In short, he is disliked, if not hated. He is not accepted as an ordinary member of society, so he does not like people to look at him. It is clear that the sense of alienation that these disabled persons feel causes them constant pain. Such persons expect kind and considerate behavior from others. They do not want tears, sympathy, or pity. They dislike being pointed at, nicknamed, mocked at, or made of fun of. They only demand a reasonable behavior from others, full of appreciations of their difficulties. So let's continue with this play, and we are going to take up second and third scene of this play. The second scene, the setting is Terry's house. He's there with his mother, and Derry is talking to his mother. And mother says, "You think I don't know about him?" So mother already knows about him. And mother says that she knows about Mr. Lamb. You think I haven't heard things? You think I don't know anything? She had already heard things about Mr. Lamb. She already knows him. You shouldn't believe all you hear. I've been told. I've been warned. So been told, warned. We have not lived here 3 months, but I know what there is to know. You are not to go back there. So mother is warning him. She says that he should not go to Mr. Lamb's house. What are you afraid of? Then Derry asked her, what is the reason for her fear? What do you think he is? Then he told her that, then he told about her, an old man with a tin leg. And then he lives in a huge house without curtains and has a garden. I want to be there. Sit and listen to things. Listen and look. So he told her that Mr. Lamb was just an old man with a tin leg and had a big house without curtains and a garden. And he said he wanted to go back and listen to things. Listen to what? Beat singing, him talking, and what's he got to say to her? He wanted to listen. He wanted to listen to what? He wanted to hear beat singing. He wanted to listen what Mr. Lamb was telling. Things that matter, things that are important, things nobody else has ever said. Those kind of things, very positive things, very optimistic things, which nobody has said, things I want to think about. Then you stay here and do your thinking, your best of here. And here, then mother goes on warning you. You stay here, do your thinking. You don't have to go there and think. You stay at home and think what you want to think. You are best of here. So if you remain here, you will be well. Otherwise, if you go there, you'll face a lot of problems. There says that I hate remaining at home. I hate remaining here only without any company. You can't help the things you say. I forgive you. It's bound to make you feel bad things. If you remain here, yes, I know. I can understand you. I forgive. It's bound to make you feel bad. And it's quite natural to feel bad, to remain at home and say them. I don't blame you. I don't blame for all that. When you go out, probably people may be saying something. It has got nothing to do with my face and what I look like. It is nothing to do with my face, my ugly face. So here he says, it's what I think and feel and what I want to see and find out and hear. Now here, Mr. Lamb has changed his attitude. He said, don't think about your face. Forget about it. It's a mental attitude that matters. I don't care about my face. It's not very important. It's what is very important. How do you lead? It's what I think that is very important. How I feel that is very important. What I want to see and find out and hear. I don't care for what people think. And why is he talking about all this? He's talking because Mr. Lamb has told him how one should have attitude towards life. Mr. Lamb has taught him the way to lead the life. And I'm going back there only to help him with the crab apples. So I am going there to help Mr. Lamb. Only to help him with the crab apples, only to look at things and listen. But I'm going. You will stop here. Oh no. Oh no. Because if I don't go back there, I will never go anywhere in this world again. So Dave is bent upon to go to the garden of Mr. Lamb. Mr. Lamb who has changed his attitude. His mother is trying to stop him. But what happens? The door slams. Derry runs. So Derry starts running. He's panting. I want the world. I want to be in the world. I want it. I want it. The sound of his panting fades. So the door behind him that's closed there and the sound is faded there. So he has gone. Where he has gone? He has gone to the garden of Mr. Lamb. So let's see in the scene third what happens. We are here at the last scene and we are here at the climax. The scene is in Mr. Lamb's garden. So one hears garden sounds, birds jumping, rustling of leaves, the knives of a branch shifting, apples tumbling down, so apples falling down, the branch shifting again. And then Mr. Lamb says, steady. That's got it? That's it. Probably he's telling himself. He's talking to himself. More apples fall. And again, he's telling himself, and again, that's it. And then what happens? A crack. Suddenly, there's a harsh sound of a cracking wood. A crash. The ladder falls back. And there's a fall of a ladder. Miss Lamb is there on the ladder. And what happens to Miss Lamb? A thump sound is a thumping sound. That means Mr. Lamb has fallen down. The branch swishes back, creaks, then silence. So Mr. Lamb has fallen down and there is a sound of the branch. Then he opens the garden gate and at that particular time there is entering into the gate, still panting. And there he says, you see, I came back. He was running and that's why he was panting. He doesn't know what has happened there in the garden. And what has happened there in the garden? Mr. Lamb has fallen down in the garden. There on the and he's there down because he has fallen down from the ladder. You said I wouldn't. And they said, but I came back. You said that I wouldn't come back. They also told me not to go to the garden. They warned me, but I came back because I wanted to be in the world. And he stops dead. Why does he stop dead? And there's silence. Mr. Lamb. Mister, you have. And he runs to the grass, stops, kneels down. Why? What has happened to Mr. Lamb? Mr. Lamb, it's all right. You fell. I'm here. I'm here to take care of you, Mr. Lamb. It's all right. And then there's a silence. I came back, and he goes on calling him by his name. Lammy Lamb. I did come back. Then he begins to weep. He starts crying. He does so because he has realized that Mr. Lamb is dead. What did he realize? He realized that Miss Lamb is dead, and that's the reason he starts crying. And that's the end of the play. Let's try to understand the plot. So, what is the story about? You know that there are two characters which are very, very important. One character is of Miss Lamb, and another character, a teenager, Derry. So how are they? It's all dealing with their friendship. One is very pessimistic and another fellow very optimistic. What brings about a change in the attitude? How Derry changes at the end? Islam, an elderly man, is dead, but a new transformed being is there of Derry. So what this play is about? Let's try to understand deeply. This play is about the friendship between an old man, his name is Mr. Lamb, and a young boy of 14 years old, Derry. This boy is withdrawn and defiant. He defies. He is not ready to listen. He is a defiant. The child is very disturbed because of his scarred face and feels that people do not want to associate with him. And that is the reason why he always remains aloof from all others. He feels that people hate him. He feels that people are afraid of him. He drifts into Mr. Lamb's garden. So one day he finds himself into Mr. Lamb's garden. He goes there, Mr. Lamb's garden, because the gate was open and he thought it was empty. It looked very inviting for him because there was nobody else. He never liked to be with people. But when he finds an old man there, he panics. He is scared and he wants to go away from there. And this old man, tries to make him very comfortable. So tries to make him feel at ease. And he advises him to accept life as it comes. And he finds it quite interesting whatever Mr. Lamb talks. Mr. Lamb's philosophy is to celebrate life in all its forms. So take life as it comes to. Take life easily. To him, the difference is a part of life. It doesn't make any difference whether it's a flower or a weed. Both have signs of life and both are growing. And here, Mr. Lamb is like this boy. He has an artificial leg, a tin leg. He has to cope with the cruelty of others because people are mocking. But he has taken it in his stride. He doesn't mind even people mock at him. He has a positive and optimistic attitude to life. He tells Derry to live life to the fullest extent and to avoid bitterness, which can be more destructive than the acid that has destroyed his face. He advises Derry to accept life without any preconceived notion. The power of choosing what one wants lies in one's hands. So it is left to them. It doesn't depend upon the world. It doesn't depend upon the comments of others. Dare is extremely sensitive about his scarred face. He doesn't like when people go on commenting. He has a fixed opinion that is a repulsive and ugly. He locks himself in a world of his own and avoids contact with others. But in spite of his attitude, he is moved by the old man's spirit. And that's why he is transformed. This is evident from the fact that he defies his mother, though mother goes on warning him. He doesn't bother about that warning. He returns to the garden, though it's a very sad event. What has happened once he comes back to the garden, he finds that Miss Lamb is dead. Dairy's face is scarred, while Miss Lamb's leg is an artificial one, a tin leg as he calls it. Both have to cope with the cruelty of others. While Dairy withdraws into his shell, Mr. Lamb takes it into his stride. One gets a glimpse of the loneliness the old man faces in spite of his outward bravado in the scene when he talks to the bees. From Dairy's point of view also, it is sad that when he finally makes an effort to come out of his shell, he is confronted by the loss of the only person who had befriended him. Let's do the analysis of the story. You know that this play is revolving around two characters. And what are those two characters? One is Derry, Derry. He's a small boy of 14 years old. And there's one more character, that is of Mr. Lamb. He's an old man. Derry got his face burned on one side due to acid, whereas Mr. Lamb lost his leg in a bomb explosion during the war. So one is handicapped, one is lame, and another fellow has got burnt face. There is very repulsive, very defiant, adamant, has a very negative attitude towards life, whereas Mr. Lamb is very optimistic. One day Derry entered into Mr. Lamb's garden and he thought that it's empty and therefore he entered that garden. But when he found Mr. Lamb, he was scared. He wanted to go away from there. But both start talking. And Mr. Lamb tries to make him comfortable. Mr. Lamb tries to convince him and tries to bring about a change in his attitude. Now, Derry says that he was not afraid of people, but people were afraid of him due to his burnt face. They either ignored him or pitied him. They called him ugly. They tried to make fun of him. Mr. Lamb consoled Henry by giving his own example. He said children called him Lammy Lamb. They mocked at him, but he didn't feel bad. And he asked Derry to face the harsh realities of life bravely. He tried to bring about a change in his attitude. Mr. Lamb tried to convince Derry that it is the inner beauty of a person that matters. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter how the society looks at him. He said that even his mother kissed him on the other side of the face, but Derry was not ready to agree with him. And he said that it was his mother, even she didn't like the other side of his face. He showed his regret for the fact that he would spend all his life with a half face. Mr. Lamb told him that his entire body is in perfect working condition. He need not worry about all that. There are many who are very much unfortunate. So he should not feel handicapped due to his half-burnt face. Mr. Lamb told Derry to look around to find so many interesting things that he could do. So think about the nature. He gave his own examples of buzzing of the bees. In order to remain occupied, he looked at the buzzing bees and flowers in the garden. He listened to the sound of birds and insects and enjoyed sitting in the sun. Derry at this time got inspired and said that he also wanted to have a big house with a big lawn. Mr. Lamb offered him to stay with him, but Derry left as his mother was waiting. But before leaving, he promised to come back. Then he went home and told his mother about Mr. Lamb. She warned him not to go to meet him, but Derry was determined to come back. In the meantime, Mr. Lamb climbed up a ladder to pluck crab apples from the tree. He fell down and died. When Derry came back, he found him lying dead on the ground. Though Derry lost his only friend, yet he became strong and positive to face the world with his disfigured face. So altogether different personality of Derry. We see there's a great transformation in Derry. Thank you. Goodbye.